Hi, I'm Robin Soderling, and you're listening to the Double Bagel.
Robin, thanks for your time. We're speaking right now, of course, during Roland Garros, a tournament you have great memories of. Before talking about your incredible run to the final in Paris in 2009 and 2010, what do you remember from Roland Garros 2004, the first time you played in the main draw there?
Not much. Let me think. 2004.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. It's been so many years. Who did I lose to?
Do you remember what round you went out?
2003. I remember. I think I lost in the qualifying. 2004.
First round? Do you remember who you lost to?
No, don't remember.
A Korean?
Oh, that's in 2004. Jung Taek Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I played him a few times. He was a tough opponent for me. I don't know why, but I didn't like to play against him. He was difficult to beat.
And you were 2-0 up, and then you lost this match.
Yeah. It was. I remember now. I think I lost to him one more time in the French. I think I lost him 2 times in the French. It was tough to beat. I remember.
Yeah. I mean, let's fast forward to Roland Garros 2009. Before your first round match against Rafael Nadal, how were your nerves and what was your approach for that match?
I mean, it was a pretty good feeling. You know, I was playing well. I played a really good match in the third round. I remember against David Ferrer. And I felt that, you know, going into the match against Rafa, I felt I had nothing to lose. You know, I tried to remind myself that he never lost before. No one expected me to win. And again, I was playing well. I knew that if I played my best tennis, you know, I could give him a real tough match. So it was actually a good feeling. You know, sometimes when you go in on court, you're nervous. You're maybe the favorite. This was a completely different thing for me, so I could play very freely.
I mean, what was the tactics for that match coming in?
I mean, I knew I had to play really aggressive. That was my game style, of course. But I knew I had to play even more aggressive, try to hit flat and deep, go for my backhand down the line a lot, and try to not make him dictate play, because I think that, you know, when he gets a little bit more time and he could start to push you around the court with his forehand, it's almost impossible to beat him. So I knew that, you know, I had to be the one that was dictating the game all the time.
And how did you celebrate that win?
It was actually, I remember after the match, it was tough, you know, because it was a great win, of course. I was extremely happy and proud. But also at the same time, I didn't want to celebrate too much because I was still in the tournament, you know. In one way, it felt like I just won the tournament, that it was the final, but I knew that it was fourth round. I had a quarterfinal coming up in just 1 or 2 days from that. So, you know, I always had to try to calm down myself, not think about it too much. But it was difficult, you know. So many times you see players make an upset beating a top player, and it's difficult to handle mentally. And then in the next round, maybe they lose to a low rank guy. And I really told myself that, okay, I'm still in the tournament. I don't want to be that guy beating Rafa and just to play a poor match in the next round.
You made back-to-back finals in Roland Garros 2009 and 2010. Looking back now, is there anything you could have done differently to change the result of both those matches against Rafa and Roger?
Well, both matches was really difficult for me, especially first one against Roger. You know, it was mentally difficult. You know, that was my first Grand Slam final, of course. And Roger, you know, he was so comfortable in those situations. You know, he played so many Grand Slam finals before. You know, so it was big for me. I knew that I was only one match away from winning the title, and mentally I wasn't really prepared. I got off to a really bad start. I worked my way into the match a little bit in the second and third set, but overall, you know, I wasn't really ready mentally to win it. The year after against Rafa, you know, I had established myself as a top player. You know, I knew I could win Grand Slams, but I remember that year I was physically very tired. I had a couple of really tough matches before before the final, and I knew that I wasn't really 100% physically. I was tired, and I knew that I had to be on my top to beat Rafa. I really tried. I pushed myself all the time, but that day, I didn't really have the energy to beat him.
I mean, were you confident coming in the 2010 final, considering you beat Rafa the year before?
I mean, I knew, of course, he was the favorite, but I showed to myself that I can beat him. I beat him 2 times. One of them, of course, in Paris before that. So I knew I had the chance, and that was a really nice feeling. I remember, as we talked about 2004, 2005, in the beginning of my career, going into Grand Slams. I looked at the draw, and I thought, okay, if I could win a few rounds, maybe reach the third or fourth round, it would be great. But at the later stages of my career, before any big tournament, any Grand Slam, I could really see myself as one of the guys that could actually win it. I was not the first favorite, but I knew there was a chance, and that was a great feeling.
I mean, your biggest title in your career was the Paris Masters. Do you feel more proud that you were the first man to beat Nadal at the French, or winning the Paris Masters?
I don't know. I mean, winning a title is always something bigger than losing in the final, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm even more proud of than just beating Rafa and reaching the final 2009 is that I was able to repeat that in 2010. I showed, it was just not the fluke. I showed that I could do it. I can defend my finals, which is not easy. I remember a few weeks before that 2010 Paris tournament, I hadn't been playing really well. 2009, I felt I was in great shape, but not before the 2010. But I managed to work my way into the tournament. I started to play better and better for every match. So maybe, for myself, I'm even more proud about 2010 Roland Garros than 2009.
I mean, are you surprised that your biggest title was not on clay, but on a hard court?
No, not really. In the beginning of my career, I hated to play on clay. I grew up in Sweden, cold country. We play 9 months indoors, so I always loved to play indoors. And in the beginning of my career, I had my best results on hard court and especially indoor courts. But, throughout the years, I started to feel more and more comfortable on clay. And maybe when you summarize my career, I had my best results maybe on clay. So at the end of my career, I felt I could play well on all surfaces, which was great. And I think that's what you have to be able to do if you want to be a top player.
I mean, what other highlights of your career come to mind?
What highlights?
Yeah, other highlights.
I mean, of course, winning the title for the first time in Båstad, my hometown. It's always something special. We have 2 tournaments in Sweden. It's small 250 tournaments. But anyway, I grew up with these tournaments, both Stockholm Open and Båstad. I was there almost every year growing up as a kid. I was dreaming about maybe one time playing there. And then all of a sudden, actually, first time I was in the final Stockholm Open was already 2003.
Yeah.
I lost 7-6 in the third in the final tiebreaker. But I managed to win Båstad 2 times, playing Stockholm Open finals 2 times. It's also great. It's special because it's in my home country.
What about your first title in France?
Oh, that was great. I remember playing very well, and of course it's something special. I remember thinking after the tournament, no matter what happens in my career after this, at least I won an ATP Tour title. Not many players can say that.
Yeah.
No one can take it from me. But I showed to myself, okay, I can be up there. I can win tournaments, and I felt that I was a good player, but I also felt that I can improve. There's so many aspects of my game I can improve. So I started to feel like, okay, maybe one day, I could reach the top 10 and competing for the biggest tournaments.
I mean, in 2011, you contracted mononucleosis, which effectively ended your career. When did you first have symptoms, and what was your reaction when the doctor told you about it?
Well, I think now looking back, I think, I started to have symptoms already in March, maybe in Miami that year. I kept playing with it. It was off and on. I was sick for a while. It started to feel better, and I didn't feel good throughout 2-3 months. And they took all the tests. They didn't take the mono test, but I think playing with the mono, it kind of pushed my body over the edge a little bit. And then after Boston, I remember it just came really strongly, and I was sick for a long time.
When the doctor told you about it, what was your reaction?
I started to understand a little bit. I think even before I got the mono, I was very overtrained, run down from all the travel, all the training, and it's a hectic schedule, so I wasn't really surprised I got this, because I think already before my immune system was really pushed down, and then when I got it, it was just too much. But I was thinking straight after they told me, I was thinking, why didn't I just rest? Why I kept on playing? But no one told me I had a mono before, so it's not easy. And tennis is a tough sport. There's always points to defend. The season's going on throughout almost the whole year. So it's when you're in it, it's really difficult to just stop. But it was a shame. Now looking back, of course, I should have planned my schedule a bit more and not train or play matches when I didn't feel 100%.
Are you fully recovered now, or are you still feeling some symptoms of it in 2020?
I feel good now. I feel good. It took a long time, but now I finally feel good. It's a great feeling. It's when you're sick and when you don't have the health, you start to realize what's the most important thing in life. When you're in your own kind of tennis bubble, all you think about is tennis, and you think tennis is the most important thing. But then when you get sick, you start to realize what's really important.
Is there still a chance of a comeback in 2021? No.
No. I mean, if I were maybe 8 years younger, maybe. But now it's I play a little bit, but I haven't played much for many years. Or I haven't trained. I trained a little bit, but not the way you have to. And also, it's a different situation for me. I have my own company. I work as the Swedish Davis Cup captain. I have 2 kids, so it's difficult. I think I'm a little bit too old now. Maybe the seniors tour.
I mean, you officially retired in 2015, but your last match was in 2011 when you were just 26 years old. Even though in many ways it was disappointing to end your career at your peak, but was there a relief to retire young?
Well, it was a really tough time for me, those 2-3 years between when I played my last match and when I finally decided to retire. I wanted to come back so much. I went from resting to trying to train a little bit. I had setbacks, and it was so many tough years. And so in one way, when I finally took the decision, it was kind of a relief. But at the same time, I was sad also, because I really didn't want to end my career. In my mind, I was thinking about playing, well over 30s. And as you said, I was 27 years old when I played my last match. So, and also it happened when I think, I was in a really good shape. I was playing extremely well. But also, I try to see the positives. There's nothing I can do about it now. I'm proud of my career. Of course, maybe if I could have played, 5, 6, or even 8 more years, I would have won more tournaments, had more success. But this could happen when I was 18 also. There's many talented young players that have injuries. They have to retire before they even start their professional career. So I try to think about it that way.
I mean, even though you're officially retired, you're still very active in the tennis world. You're currently the Swedish Davis Cup captain, like you said. How did that role come about?
Well, they asked me a year ago. A year ago, and I was really surprised they asked me. I hadn't been thinking about it, but when they asked me, I was of course very surprised and also very honored. So I didn't have to think long before I choose to say yes. It's a great thing for me, and Davis Cup is something that I grew up with. Sweden had so much success in the past in Davis Cup. I watched almost every home match they played, and I played myself. So if it felt like I've been in all the situations now, as a young kid dreaming to play there, playing myself, and now as a captain, it's great. I love Swedish tennis. As I said, we've been such a great tennis country, and I really want to do everything I can to help Swedish tennis.
Who were your idols? Was it Bjorn Borg and Stefan Edberg?
Yeah, Bjorn Borg, Stefan Edberg. I think the tennis hype in Sweden, it started with Bjorn Borg, and then after that we had, as you said, Mats Wilander, Stefan Edberg, and I think that's why we had so much success in the past, because tennis was so popular, and we had role models for the kids, which is not really the case anymore, and I think in the 80s, 90s, and beginning of the 2000s, all the kids, boys and girls, they wanted to play tennis. Now it's not really the case. Many, they play soccer or they play ice hockey, and it's difficult if tennis as a sport can't attract, the really talented young boys and girls. It doesn't matter if you have the best coaches, you need the material as well. So I think we really need a top player again in Swedish tennis.
I mean, what are you like as a captain and a coach?
I mean, I knew that every player is different. Every person is a different person. I think it's really important. A good coach can always, see the players for how they act and how they are, and change the perspective. I can tell one player one thing with a few words, and then I tell the other player the same things, but they don't understand. So it's always about finding a way to communicate with different players. And one thing that I tell the guys is that there's only one thing that I really want you to do, is that every time you step on court, no matter if it's a practice or if it's a match, you always give 100%. And that's maybe one of the things I'm really proud of in my career. I always gave 100%. I never gave away any matches. No matter if you win or lose, there's so many factors you can't really predict yourself. Your opponent can play well, but the only thing you can really do is to always try to give 100%.
Is your coaching style similar to your past coaches, Magnus Norman and Peter Carlson?
I think I took a little bit from all of them. I had great coaches during my career. I'm really thankful for all of them, and I tried to take what I liked from all of them and put together as my style. I think that it's always going to be up to the player. You can push a player for so long, but if you don't have the inner desire yourself, it's not going to happen. So I think it's more trying to motivate them.
I mean, you mentioned before that you created your own tennis brand and launched your own tennis balls, the RS tennis balls. Why did you choose to decide to go in that direction?
Well, after I retired, I was thinking about, okay, what should I do now? And tennis been my big part of my life for my whole life. I started when I was 4, and when I played throughout my career, I was always very interested and picky about materials. So, and I remember someone asked me many years before that, which is the best ball you ever played with, and I couldn't really come up with a good answer there. I thought there was many good balls, but not one that I particularly really liked, as with the rackets or the strings or shoes or whatever. So, this question, I remember this question, and I had the thought that, okay, maybe what if I could try to develop a tennis ball myself that I think is a super good quality ball, which is going to be the best ball. And I'm pretty happy now that I didn't know back then how much work it would take. It took me maybe a year and a half before I finally had the finished product, and I started to give it out to friends, to professional players, and all said, this is great. It's a good product. And then my friend told me, he worked a lot in business. He said, like, you should start a company and start selling this. And I was like, well, I never thought about it. It was just a fun product. But then I said, okay, let's try. And we've been growing fast. We're present in 40 countries now. We're making all kinds of different tennis equipments, like strings and grips, and also paddle tennis is growing in Europe, so we make balls and rackets for that. So it's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's a nice way to still stay in the tennis world, even though I'm not playing or coaching myself.
I don't think it's in New Zealand yet, the RS tennis balls.
No, I don't think we're in New Zealand. Australia we are, but not in New
Okay,
Zealand yet. Maybe that's our next country to go
next
to.
country.
Yeah.
And what was about the current materials from other brands that you didn't like?
I mean, there's a lot of good brands, but as a player, you get a lot of experience. You try different things, and I think with my knowledge throughout my career, I knew exactly how I want everything to feel,
Hmm.
and I tried to take that and put it in a product and make it a little bit better than all the others. Especially started with the balls, and I do the same with all the other equipment we have. So I think having a player, and that's the base and the core of my company. I am the one developing the product.
Mm.
And it works well. It's a lot of work with the factories, but it took a while before we started to speak the same language. Factories, they talk about numbers and specs and stuff, and I was just talking about the feeling. But after a while, we started to talk the same language, and now it works out really well.
I mean, what is the ultimate goal for your company in the future?
I mean, to have fun and grow and let as many people as possible try the product and see, we have when people is trying our products, we have a mostly great feedbacks, which is great. So, I mean, it's a fun thing, and I want this to be, of course, bigger. It's always a competition. Everything is a competition for me. I take that with me from my playing days. But it was nice to have a big company in the tennis world or in the racket sport world that can live for a long time.
Mm. I mean, this year you've been very open on social media about the anxiety and mental health problems you faced during the peak of your career in 2011. Do you think that was caused by the constant pressure you put yourself on, being in the top five?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the reasons. As I told you, I wasn't feeling. The thing is, during my career, if someone would have asked me like, how do you feel? Do you feel good? I would honestly tell them, yeah, I feel great. So I was pushing away all this, and then all of a sudden I think I was really stressed, run down, overtrained, and I got the mono, and that was like that was it for my body, and I kind of crashed. And then after, I had many tough years, and it comes from all the stress, and I didn't have a good way to handle that stress you have to live with as a tennis player or as a professional athlete. No one told me about that. When you go to sports psychologists and stuff, they tell you how to, or they teach you how to perform even better. It's always about performing, but I wish I had someone during my career to speak about how to have a long and healthy career also. It's I was very serious all the time, but I think to be able to have a long career, you have to be a little bit relaxed between practices, between matches. It's really tough and difficult to be switched on 24/7.
And can I ask, how low did you get?
I mean, it was a couple of years that was extremely difficult. Well, the thing is, I know how bad I felt when I was really bad. It was just like every second felt like an hour. It's like waking up in the morning and you have no idea how you're gonna get through this day. And it was for so long. And also, as soon as I did a little bit too much, I was training too much. The symptoms got even worse, and I was thrown back again, and it went on for many years. So I think it's since it was so bad and for so long, it was extremely difficult. But I always had the hope, and I'm glad. There's always, of course, so many times I questioned if this was ever going to be good again. But somewhere deep down in me, I had a hope that, and I had the passion. I think I got that from my tennis career. I always wanted to do the best for me every day, and think about the day when I feel healthy. And it was difficult. I feel so much more for the people who actually struggle with this. You don't have to be a professional athlete to struggle with this. I think today's society is tough for many people, no matter if you're an athlete or you work at a normal job, so to say. And it's you really have to find a way to relax sometimes and recharge your batteries. You can't just go on 100% for 10, 20 straight years.
I mean, you sort of answered the next question, but do you think that is the price you have to pay to be the best in any sport or in any career, I guess?
I mean, that's the price I had to pay,
Yeah.
and of course, it's not. I don't think it's not only super healthy, to become a top athlete. You train a lot, you train, you sleep, you try to have the best food, but also there's so many other different factors. So you're not doing it for your health, of course, but I know there is people who can actually, have a pretty healthy career for a long time. But I think, now as I told everybody about this, there's so many players contact me, both, players that are playing now and retired players, and they told me, they experienced the same thing, which is a shame. There's so many players that retired and they blame something else. They blame a shoulder injury or a knee injury or whatever, but that wasn't the case. They just felt ashamed to tell everyone what they were dealing with, and that's a shame, because it's so common, and you're not crazy. Even though when I was really sick, it felt like I was getting crazy, but that's not the case. It's just a matter of too much stress for too long.
Mm. I mean, Robin, how would you look back on your career? Do you feel satisfied, or do you feel underachieved, or that you could have done more?
Well, both. I'm extremely satisfied. When I was a kid, if someone told me, you're going to reach 2 Grand Slam finals, win a Masters tournament, be number 4 in the world, I would be super, super happy with that. But of course, uh, I had to retire when I was playing my best tennis. My dream was always to win a Grand Slam tournament. I was competing in an extremely difficult era, with Roger, Rafa, and Novak. But I was up there. I beat them all a few times. So for sure, if I could have played for a few years longer, maybe, who knows? Maybe I could have won a Grand Slam, or at least I won some more big tournaments. But again, I try to see it I try to look at the positives. There's not much I can do now. So, I'm proud. Not many players have achieved what I have achieved in only 10 years on tour.
Yeah. I mean, final part of the interview, Robin. So I'm going to name 5 players you've played against in some point of your career. Can you tell me in a few sentences how you would try to play them and beat them? So the tactics, I guess. The first one,
Okay.
let's start with Andy Murray.
Oh, Andy Murray is tough. Andy Murray was always tough because so many times against him I got a good start. He was always a player that he was he is kind of a slow starter. It was so many times I won this first set, but against him it was just a matter of trying to keep the focus all the time, because he's one of the best players in the world, if not the best, to find a way to come back into a match. And against him, always, you always get a lot of big chances, and you have to be really sure that when you come to the net, sometimes it feels like he tried to, trick you to come to the net just to make a great lob or a passing shot. And I always told myself, when you come in, you have to hit a good attacking shot.
Juan Martín del Potro.
He's a great player. He was a difficult opponent for me, but of course, you had to really stay away from his forehand. If you're going to play to a forehand, you have to play it deep and with a lot of pace. But also his backhand was, of course, his forehand is better shot, but his backhand was difficult because he places so flat and so low over the net. But again, push against him, hit hard to his backhand, and when you have the chance, go to his forehand.
David Ferrer.
Ferrer, I played so many times. He was a tough opponent. You always had to expect a tough match with a lot of running, long rallies. But I always like to play against, clay court players on clay. I always felt that against Ferrer, I had the time. I was the one dictating, and many times that I beat him, I felt that I was playing a little bit too fast for him.
Andy Roddick.
Trying to get the serve back. Well, against Andy, there's always small margins. I think I always try to be aggressive on his second serve, even though he has a great second serve. When you get the chance, you have to be aggressive and then put a lot of pressure on his backhand and try to come in on his backhand, because that was his weaker side for sure.
And then last one, Rafael Nadal.
Oh, Nadal, yeah. Even more, you have to be aggressive. I think the way to beat him, especially on clay, is to be the one dictating. He's so good when he gets the time to run around with his forehand, and also, try to stay focused on every point, because no matter the score, he always plays every point that if it was, tiebreak in the fifth set.
Yeah.
I never, against all the other top players, you could feel that, if you got up a set in the break, you could feel that maybe they went down a little bit, lost some momentum, some focus. But against Rafa, no chance. No matter the score, he would always play every point like it was the last point of his career.
Final thoughts, Robin, before you go. Since Roland Garros is on right now, who are your predictions for the men's title this week?
Well, it's so difficult. I mean, if you look at it, Novak has been playing well. The last few matches, he hasn't really been tested. Also, Rafa's been looking good. I think one of Novak or Rafa will win it. This time, I'd say, for the first time, actually, I would say that Novak is the slight favorite. All the other years, I'd pick Rafa, but this time, I think Novak's gonna win.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think he's really at his peak. He plays so fast, and he can really stand up against Rafa. Rafa is playing really well, but he didn't play so many clay court matches. He lost in quarterfinals in Rome, unexpected. I think the confidence, Novak has a better confidence, but again, it's one thing beating Rafa on clay in best of 3 sets than doing it in best of 5. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see, but I would pick Novak, slight favorite Novak this year.
Great stuff, Robin. Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.